Hey, what up, YouTube? This is Eric at Go H4M. We have rebranded the channel, and this is Ryan Root at Go H4M, HRT Clinic, TRT Clinic, as well as we have Nikki Burnette with us, who is a MNT. That's a Master's Nutrition Therapist. She's going to talk about some awesome topics tonight, specifically CIRS we're going to get into, as well as a host of other topics. We will be having a on-topic Q&A this evening. So anything that we are discussing throughout the interview, you can drop your questions. We'll highlight those. And then when we get done with that segment, we'll go ahead and ask Nikki those questions for you. And then again, at the end of the live stream, what we'll be doing is an open Q&A that's on all topics. It'll be a lightning round. You can drop your questions at any time, flag those for you, and we'll get to those as we always do. Of course, members and super chats take priority. So it's awesome to see everybody out in the chat tonight. Thankfully, you stopped up early because we don't do a intro any longer. So if Ryan has to go to the bathroom, it might be right during the show, kind of like last week. So that'll be fun. So I wanted to, yeah, exactly. I wanted to say welcome, Nikki. We really appreciate you coming on because, again, this is technically a boys club, and we, on our female streams, a lot of times we don't have a very large audience because we don't have a very large percentage of females that watch our streams. However, this is unique because this is a topic that crosses the gender line that she's going to be speaking about. So it's going to be truly an awesome, good time and very in-depth, deep dive on the CIRS topic that we actually covered in a video some time back. Called Testosterone Panacea, as well as another video that is currently not up. But those videos that are being rebranded, they will be up very soon. All right. So all the videos that you see currently not on the channel, a lot of that content is going to be back up sooner than later. So we appreciate your patience, guys. Ryan, how you been, man? It's good to see you. I don't talk to you much.
Yeah.
And I know that you're mad busy and all. We're all pretty busy. And how you been?
Good. Thank you. Yeah, it's been busy. We're all really busy, but we're gonna expand it. We got a new website, and
oh yeah,
I don't know if anybody's gone there, but it's we finally look like we're a real professional company now with the website. It was done really well. So yeah, it's fantastic. I hear Amy's here. Amy is. We've had several episodes with Amy, who is also a nutritional therapy practitioner, and she lives. Both of you live in Colorado. I don't know. Well, I mean, it's not like you have to know each other, but you know, it's kind of fun to think about.
There's a good grouping of us here. Yeah, it's good stuff. Hi, Amy.
Yeah. So Amy, you guys have a lot in common. Well, you know what, Eric, we got to plan it. We'll have to have both of them on at the same time.
Oh, that would be awesome. That would be great. You hear that, Amy? We're thinking of you. Get you both on here for a great new discussion topic on nutrition because whether those previous vids come back or not, I am not sure if they will. I'm going to do everything in my power to see that they do come back. Yeah. But if not, we can create something even far better. Yeah, exactly. It'd be new content, republished, and with both of you on there, oh gosh, that would be sick.
Yeah. That would be so fun.
Yeah, sure would.
Well, what else was I thinking? I can't remember now.
Oh, hey Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah,
I was going to ask you real quick from the Facebook group. We had a question recently, yesterday actually, about genetic testing. Somebody, I think his name is John. He had ordered a genetic test on January the 3rd, and he was wondering how long it typically takes to receive them.
Yeah. So we're sorry about that. It's actually more a function of we were ironing out some details we didn't know we had to iron out. So yeah, those tests are coming. In fact, I think it was actually only today that they were all approved for shipment. Yeah, so we apologize. In the beginning here, we work out some kinks that we didn't know we have. So as soon as people start ordering, we go, oh no, there's this one problem, and we didn't realize it until now. So if everybody could just bear with us in the beginning while we work out some of these kinks, that's exactly what we're doing. But all the genetic tests were approved for shipping today, and I believe they should go out. You should have them pretty quickly too.
I love that y'all are doing genetic testing.
Yeah,
it's the key to everything that we do, right? It's huge.
Yeah, and we're gonna have little testing bundles to test for a lot of the things that you're going to talk about tonight. So we can specifically look for some of these, the APOE4,
APOE4,
like things like that. We're going to have genetic testing specifically. The MTHFR, obviously, like why don't people know? Like, I mean, so this is one of the things we're doing, right? Like, I mean, there's other things. There's clotting disorders. There's factor V. There's thrombin, antithrombin mutations, right? That can put people at risk for clotting. We can set up a protocol for you if we know you have that condition, so that we can reduce the risk of clotting. Why doesn't everybody have
so simple?
Or the MTHFR gene. Like, yes, there's certain things we can do. I mean, methylated vitamins, but there's certain things that we can do to prepare you if you have that genetic predisposition, right? Like, so why don't we just test everybody for these things? And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to set up affordable testing for all of these things in multiple different ways. And then we can just prepare your life for you. So my girlfriend, Christina, she started just because she's educated. She's a registered dietitian. There's a lot of nutritionists around me.
A lot of work to be done.
So she just because she's educated, she figured that she had the MTHFR gene. She didn't have a way to test for it, but she just had all the symptoms. So she started on her own taking methylated vitamins, and it helped. It helped to a degree. She's but we finally tested her genetic when we came out with the genetic test. We tested her. Sure enough, she's got that. So. I mean, why doesn't everybody test for these things? There's a lot of tests, and then we can just plan out your protocols. We can improve your quality of life from a young age. Like, everybody should be tested. So that's what we're going to do. We're setting up all these tests. We're going to have bundles and genetic bundles so we can test for these genes, so people can know and be educated about their nutrition, the protocols that they take, the treatments that we use, and everything. So how did I meet Nikki? Nikki and I are going to do a podcast on her. So on her channel, she's booked out so far that it won't be till April. But when Nikki and I had a discussion, I was like, "There's a lot of synergy here. Let's have you on our channel." And we have an opening before she did. So I asked her to be on our show, and this is going to be fantastic. So it's great to talk to you again, Nikki.
Yeah, you do. I'm super excited. And I'm sorry, so far we're a little bit different in the way that we work, where we don't just record, right? We are only live. And so it just it books out a little bit. But it's a good problem to have, right?
Yeah, it's a good problem to have.
It's definitely a good problem to have, because we went through a slump around Christmas time. Like the holidays, basically all of December, we pretty much took off. We didn't have any guests then, and I was like, Ryan, don't worry. After the new year, people will be more available. Now we're booked up to the third week of February. So that's it, guys. If you out there, anybody out there listening wants to come on the show as a guest, please reach out. My new email is eric@goh4m.com.
I have another person for you, Eric. Remind me later. Somebody else that can come.
Oh, you do? Good. Yeah. That'd be great.
Okay. Yeah. Let's get started with Nikki. This is fun. This is going to be a good one.
Yeah. First, I wanted to just mention to everybody out there in the chat that has just recently showed up. This is going to be a great deep dive on CIRS with Nikki Burnette here. We're going to have also an on-topic Q&A following each segment. At the end, we'll have an open Q&A segment. We're going to talk basically about understanding the core body systems and how to achieve synergy with hormones, again, with a CIRS deep dive intertwined here as we get going through the outline here as we get into the show. That's going to be like the highlight of the show. It's going to be great. So let's say Nikki, welcome along. She is an MNT, master nutritionist, therapist, functioning in functional medicine, clinical setting, nutrition, and intersection of health, wellness, hormone optimization, you name it. This woman's an expert. That's why it is fantastic to have her on. So, Nikki, I'd like to ask you just to briefly discuss your background and passion for foundational health.
Oh gosh. So it all stems from, I think it happens with most of us who are in healthcare, right? We all have our stories. And it sort of stems from my own story of chronic pain, and I won't go deep into it, but it's really so much about how it taught me to dig, to learn, to ask questions, to be curious, to understand the body. And ultimately it was to understand what the body's trying to tell me. Instead of, what I try to teach people is, it's not worth fighting your body. We don't want to fight your body. We want to partner with the body, because that's the stuff that helps us to change our mindset and helps us move forward, so we can, reach an ultimate goal together, right? Because the body's ultimate goal is to keep us alive, right? And we can't fight it. So we want to partner with it, or we'll just be miserable. And so, I think it goes back to, my story of overcoming, the chronic pain issue, and then digging for other people. And then what I love is what you're doing. It's the genetics, it's the epigenetics, it's the nutrigenomics. It's really digging deep. So because we can, like you said, it's so fascinating what we can do to personalize nutrition and food and fasting and carb cycling and maybe not, right? We have to bring in many, many layers to this and put it all together. Genetics is a tool. It's not diagnostic, right? It doesn't, just because we have certain genetics doesn't mean that it's expressed, but it gives us so much knowledge about our body and how to work with our body. It's amazing. And so that's sort of where I love to go, is just layering in data for people so they can partner with their body and get where they want to be, right?
Yeah. Here's an interesting comment right here from Noah here. So, but this is normal, right? So we evolved our mechanisms for the caveman times, right? Back when food sources were scarce. So, and we evolved to have a dopaminergic response, or a dose, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins response to food. It's what it's sort of as a reward system, right? Like we get reward systems through neurotransmitters every time we do something to help the survival of ourselves or our species. Eating helps us survive, so we get rewarded, right? So we're supposed to be like addicted to these neurotransmitters. So dopamine, when you eat something, and the more energy that this food has, the more dopamine you produce, which is why we get addicted to really high energy foods, very sugary foods or very fatty foods. So this is actually natural. Like we're supposed, and you're like in the caveman days, it was like, yes, eat everything you can now because we'll store it as fat, and then you might need that later for when food sources are scarce, right? In the modern environment, since the industrial revolution, where food is superfluous, and there's high processed foods, there's high energy foods, lots of sugar, lots of fat everywhere,
lots of chemical.
Yeah, right. It's not right, and we have to do things so that we don't overeat, right? And there's obviously a lot of strategies, but yeah. So I want everybody to understand it's natural, and we do kind of have to fight eating certain types of foods and as much as we want at all times, but that's natural, and yeah.
I think I would say a management.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I didn't say they're management tools, because you're right. There are points, and this is what I have to, when I'm working with people who are trying to lose weight. There's this, we beat ourselves up. And so if we are working early on to manage these things is helpful. But if we get beyond that point, then it's less about willpower and those things, and more about the imbalances that we have in our satiety hormones and our full and our my words aren't working right. My hunger and satiety. Anyway, you got me. But those hormones can come out of whack, as well as some other hormones that are communicators. And when those are out of whack, it the snowball effect just happens. And so we've got to get away from beating ourselves up and learn. Again, it goes back to learning how to partner with our bodies and not fighting.
Yeah.
So sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, that's fine. I was just going to say how, at least for me, and I know probably quite a few people that have this same issue up here in the Northeast where I live, is every year since I was a child, when the winter months would come, my metabolism would increase dramatically, and I would just eat, and I just could never get full. And every year, what would happen when I was young, I'd put on like 20 pounds in the winter. And then as it got warmer, I'd easily drop the 20 pounds. And then as I got older and older, I'd gain 20 pounds and only drop like 12 pounds. And then the following few years later, I'd gain 20 pounds and only drop like 6 pounds. And then I just got fatter and fatter and fatter as my hormones got more and more out of whack. But yeah, so it definitely is. It's genetic, and our metabolism is based on survival. And when you can control it, because now we can turn the heat on, we can put some wood in the fireplace, it's no longer necessary to eat like the way that our body tells us to do. And before we continue on with the gut-brain axis, that's going to be a fun topic to get into. I want to say hi to everybody here in the chat that showed up. Thankfully, everybody showed up early tonight. Good to see everybody. We got Boston Sean, 75. Once again, he's a member. What's doing? H4M. He's already caught on to the new name. As a matter of fact, you guys were the ones that named H4M, believe it or not. Isn't that right, Ryan?
Yeah.
Everybody.
People just started calling us that in Reddit. So it caught on. I mean, there's business reasons for changing the name from Hormones for me. You can't really. The name Hormones for me is like as far as an SEO perspective, right? You can't stand out in a marketplace with a name like H4M, which is why we're kind of toying around with these other names for something that actually stands out and is more unique. So for SEO purposes, especially. So, but yeah. But everybody,
I love it.
On Reddit started calling us H4M for short instead of writing out Hormones for me. So it just kind of stuck, and now we use it.
There you go. We got Condon. What up, brother? It's that time again. He means it's Tuesday, stream time. We're back, of course. We got bodybuilding Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Made it early for once. Oh, my gosh. You don't need a tardy slip. Who else we got? We got Ryan Parsons here. Sup, H4M gang. How you doing, brother? Good to see you. Of course, we got Amy in the house. Always a pleasure. As well as member Zionic. Good friend of ours, good friend of the channel. He's been with us for some time. I'm not sure if I mentioned member Boston Sean, but I'll mention him again. Why not? No Waker. He's going to be on our show. I'm not sure. I think it's next week. I'll have to look at the schedule when we plug the show at the end of the stream. But I do think he is coming on next week. And then we also have Dr. Tramontano coming on, the psychologist. That's going to be an awesome show. Who else do we got? Let's see. Oh, this new member here, Winnie DWC. Good evening, everyone. I also ordered your genetic testing, and thanks for the update. You're welcome. Saint Owen, nice site. Looks amazing. I couldn't agree more. I love it. It absolutely freaking pops, and it looks so much more professional. I haven't actually used it and uploaded or anything like that, but it is definitely much more professional and sweet. They did a great job on that. Who else we got? Ryan Parsons, we already went over, and it looks like that might be about it. All right. So thank you all for coming out. We're going to continue on. All right. So, Nikki, let's talk about the gut-brain energy axis. Okay. The top focus is going to be digestion, mood, energy, intertwined. Let's discuss the critical role of the gut, noting over 70% of the immune function and roughly 90% of serotonin are linked to the gut. That's news to me.
Yeah, it's fascinating, right? How
that
our happy hormone is more of a brain thing when it's 90% of it is produced in the gut. And so going back to, I think somebody in the chat was talking about the microbiome and the changes in the microbiome. The microbiome is really kind of key to so much of what we are, when it comes to our mental and emotional health, our physical health, disease status, all of it, so one of the things that I always want to think about, no matter what the situation is we have to build a robust microbiome, because it's key to everything, including hormones.
Yeah. I have a question. This is going to be this is going to be a little a little weird, but just bear with me. I watched this show on Netflix. Did you see the show about the microbiome in Netflix?
I don't think so.
It was pretty popular. It ended up being about how they were able to, people are missing parts of their microbiome. Right?
Yeah.
Whether it be they just were absent a certain food source for so long that their body just stopped
basic
producing
keystone species are no longer there.
Yeah, right. Or in certain cultures, or I don't know, indigenous areas like have certain things that other areas don't, right? So they found a way to replenish certain microbiomes that had been lost in people by fecal implantation, right? So you actually capsulize feces, and from people who have microbiome that you're missing. So they would test your microbiome saying, hey, you're missing these things, let's get you capsulized feces that has these microbiomes, and it seemed to be really working for people. It was actually a really interesting show. Netflix.
Yeah, it's cool, and it does, and it works well when done properly, right? So it's really now at this point it's become a kind of a cool science, because you want to obviously have somebody who's super healthy, somebody who has, it can change a lot of things about who you are. It can cause cravings that you've never had before. And, these are stories that I've heard. I've not had it done, but there's a company now called Thana. Have you heard of Thana?
I don't know. I haven't.
Yeah. So super cool. So what they've done, they have donors that they have tested to make sure that they're, as healthy as they can be, right? Super rigorous stuff. But they have taken their stool, and basically it's just the metabolites that are left over. So they have these super healthy metabolites, and it's, anyway, it's all encapsulated. So for those who are struggling with, significant IBS, IBD issues, that kind of thing, it is showing to be a game changer for a lot of people. I saw them at a conference last year. And it's amazing. It seems really gross because it's encapsulated, right? It's like you're eating somebody else's poop, but you're not. It's somebody's metabolites, and they're showing lots of data in all kinds of places, not just GI symptoms. So pretty awesome.
It changes the idea of, like, when you say don't take shit from anyone. Well, sometimes you do want to take shit from
you
other
gotta yeah, it's just what you do.
But this is fascinating. So as far as, especially so what have you seen when we can use, like, what's going on when we can use that? Let me bring it back to my world. So we treat, obviously hormone replacement therapy clinic. I've seen hormones have dramatic improvement in quality of life. And well, I've seen it in over 20,000 people personally. That's just me. And I've read about 1 million more, right? So, however, what I see is sometimes people's lives are improved, but there's still a fatigue, there's still something missing, there's still something going on. On a rare occasions, like, people just aren't affected at all by the hormone, like, and then it's, if you have low hormones, though, raising your hormones to an adequate level, unequivocally, they're metabolic signals, right? It's signaling, it's signaling increased metabolism. It's signaling a lot of healthy things, that neuroplasticity. We're also improving bone density. Like, there's helpful things going on. And sometimes it's hard to explain to somebody that, listen, you're not feeling any different, but you are healthier. Now we just got to get to why you're not feeling any different. Like, there's something else going on. We got to figure that out. So what I've started to realize is a lot of this is the diet, is the gut-brain microbiome, is there's other things going on. So if somebody is just fatigued and lethargic and their hormones are okay, what would you say? Like, what would we do? What are we looking for in that case?
So from my perspective, if somebody comes to me, no gut issues, but have hormonal issues, I'm going to sit there. I'm still going to ask the question, why? Why is this happening in the first place? And so what I do almost in every case, no matter what, as long as the client is on board, is I'm going to test the gut. and I'm going to test toxins. So the microbiome is going to impact hormones. The microbiome, like I said, it's going to impact everything, right? But I want to understand root cause. In my world and in my mind, the main things that are root cause factors are going to be infection, mycotoxins, heavy metals, environmental toxins, right? So those are toxins. They're, we've got parasites, we got worms. I mean, we got worms all over the place, and people are like, no, we don't have worms. We live in the United States. We got worms everywhere.
Oh yeah, we're filled with parasites.
We are. And, I think a lot of our issues are parasitic. We don't, when we were the hunter-gatherer and before the Industrial Revolution, we ate foods like dandelion that's in the yard. Now we just want to go poison it, right? But we ate foods that were protective and would get rid of parasites. And we don't do that anymore. And we want to go through these detoxes and these cleanses with juices. I'm like, this is not what we need to do.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to understand what is going on at that foundational level that we need to understand that is causing those issues that we're struggling with, right? And so, and real quick, I want to say that parasites, worms are really tough to test for. They don't often come up, and still I will do a parasite cleanse and they'll still come out, even if they didn't show up. So it can happen. It's just part of life, but it's a good thing to do to clean yourself out periodically. But once we do, what could happen? Well, maybe our hormones balance, right? Maybe the GI symptoms go away. Maybe the fatigue goes away because of that gut-brain connection. Were you about to ask me something? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, or the hormone replacement therapy works better, right? Because we've removed another one of the
absolutely
blockades to your sense of well-being.
Something that's causing a buffer.
Yeah. No, I think I love responsible hormone replacement therapy, right? Which is what y'all are doing. There are a lot who aren't, but I do it myself. I think we talked about that. So I think there are situations in a lot of cases where we want to bring in those hormones because if the communication is not happening, and sometimes, sorry, I'm kind of going over myself.
No, that's okay.
But, if we're working on the gut, but we also need to bring in the hormones so you can feel better, but then we're also wanting to detoxify, right? Sometimes you got to do both at the same time because people have got to be able to get through their day, right? One of my favorite hormones is progesterone. It's a happy hormone. It's an amazing hormone. And I put a lot of people on it. Men can be put on progesterone, especially if they're struggling from anxiety, right? So hormones are super important, and to bring them in to help people get through their day and get, do what they need to do is, I think, super important when I keep saying super important, but when we're struggling and trying to manage all the junk that we have to manage.
Yeah. So can we, because another reason I wanted to have you on the show is it's one of the things that we try to do, right, is that not only educate, but normalize the discussion about hormone replacement therapy. And another reason I wanted to bring you on your show is because you're on hormone replacement therapy yourself. And so can you talk to us about that? Like what symptoms you were feeling, what did you go, what was your protocol, and especially like how did you feel after you did that? I think it's good for people to hear, like, let's normalize this.
Yeah. And I think this is cool too, because since you do mostly have men, and it's a woman's perspective, and I don't mind being super open about this. I can't see anybody besides you two anyway. But I think that it's important for men to have an understanding of sometimes the junk that we don't even know we're going through, right? And so I'll tell you that for a long time, I'm very happily married. My husband is amazing, but my sex drive somewhere just fell off. I don't know where. Not great, right? He wasn't happy. It stunk. I was like, the feeling was gone, not our feelings, but the feeling was gone.
Right. The desire.
Yeah. And so I'm also at this point to where I'm perimenopausal. Now I'm postmenopausal, which is crazy to even think about. This is new for me. But you start going through all of these changes, and we as women, we don't talk about this very much. We're starting to talk about it more and more. But I didn't realize that my hormones were so wonky until, fortunately, I'm super healthy. I've had virtually no symptoms except loss of sex drive. And then I had some hot flashes. So I went ahead and started strictly for my relationship. I started the testosterone, which is awesome and has been amazing. And I do recommend it from someone who is, doing it the right way, right? And I think it's a very different story with men. I won't hit on that right now. But then over time, as I started kind of going through, missing periods and that kind of stuff and getting the hot flashes, which is craziness. I need to start really digging into the hormones and understanding what that means and what I need to do for myself. And so started on progesterone and estradiol. I put lots of people on progesterone these days because I think we have so much estrogen imbalance, men and women, where we are estrogen dominant. We've got estrogens in our environment. We've got metalloestrogens. We've got mycoestrogens. And they're we're just inundated with all of this estrogen dominance. And, men are having a hard time with it. And then, women are super struggling. So that's where good testing comes in too. So you can understand that and manage where you are. But then bringing in a little bit of the estradiol for myself. I'm also careful about my own, because for my own genetics, right? In my detox, I support my detox pathways, but then that progesterone. And so it totally, within a couple of days, the hot flashes were gone. So I'm very thankfully well-balanced. Not everybody is as easy as I am, but the relationship is good and the sweats are all gone. And so at this point, everything's really, really good. So is that helpful?
Oh, very helpful. Yeah. We do have a growing female patient, growing female patient base. I don't know why I couldn't say that. So this is very helpful. But there are females who watch this, and it's important to normalize this and discuss this, especially your use of testosterone. Which so I specifically really have gotten very good with women. I've guided thousands of women through the use of these hormones, and I've just through sheer experience and research and I've become very understanding how to dial females. And then we don't have a single female that's not on testosterone. It's vitally important. It's just like you say, it's a harmonious balance between all the hormones, not just any one, right? So I thank you for sharing that. It's very important. It's important that other females hear this so they understand that. Yeah, I need to. There comes a time when honestly everybody needs to be on hormone replacement therapy.
Well, I think it's so important. We talk about, I hate the word anti-aging. It's not my thing, and longevity. It's really more about, how we live while we're here, because we don't know how long, right? But it is part of this aging better and aging well. Yeah. And the thing is too, testosterone for men is supportive. It's supportive of cognitive health. Estrogen for women is supportive of cognitive health. If we have chemical estrogens, it's not going to function properly and it's going to throw us way off. And if our estrogen's low, we get to this point where we think, am I struggling with dementia? Why do I have brain fog? Women are quitting their jobs because they think that they're losing their minds because they're not being supported by their hormones that are supposed to be there. So how can we come in and support and understand and help women understand, do the testing, do the hormone replacement therapy from somebody who is good and reputable, and don't do the pharmaceutical hormones because they're more damaging than anything. For young women too, right? The pill, super damaging. Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah. It's crazy what it does to us at that time and then long term. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's a game changer for us, especially when we want to live well. We are living longer, and we want to live as well as we can and as young as we can for as long as we're here. Yeah.
Absolutely. Here's Jared. Here's one of our providers.
Hey, Jared. Good to see you, man.
Hey, Jared.
He does a great job. Really understands how to.
He's an awesome dude.
Yeah.
Cool.
Ryan, I wanted to take this question here, and then I want to step back real briefly to ask Amy a couple of questions. I'm sorry, Amy. Nikki, a couple of questions. What's the best way to get started with hormones for me from Crazy for Shoes?
Yeah. So the best way to get started would be just go to the website at goh4m.com. even if you type in the old website, hormones.
I'll put that in there now.
Yeah, it will redirect you to goh4m.com. But and then there's a in the top right corner, there's a button that says try H4M, and it will lead you into a process to aggregate all of the information we need to be able to treat you. So it takes it step by step. It makes it really easy, explains every step. Hey, we need this. Here's some information we need. Here's some information. And then it gives you emails or phone number that you can call. If you have any questions at any point, you can just email or phone call. And we'll walk you right through the process. But yeah, that's the best way to get started.
Fantastic. All right. Yeah. So, Nikki, I really wanted to ask you, because supporting digestion means supporting the entire core system. Okay. So if your digestion is struggling, you're going to have all kinds of side effects, particularly potentially anxiety, low stress tolerance, poor sleep, blood sugar swings and cravings, even cognitive fog or low motivation. Now, is that typically hormone related, or is that if your hormones are even fine, will you still suffer these? These are really kind of hypogonadal symptoms, outside of the anxiety, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, it depends on the person, and everybody can present differently. You can have the same symptoms and have different issues, or the same issue and different symptoms. Which is why we want to look at all of the things that we can look at to understand. These are your symptoms. Let's understand the why behind them. And so yeah, GI dysfunction. I mean, gosh, it can cause nutrient deficiencies, right? If you're not absorbing your nutrients, if you're you've got a leaky gut situation, if you're taking NSAIDs, if you're taking PPIs, if you've had stress, if you've had trauma, if you name it, all of the things can cause gut dysfunction. Leaky gut means leaky brain, right? Gut's on fire, brain's on fire.
Yeah, can you explain that concept? I've read about it, but I think it's an important concept, because I think like a lot of these systems, what we're talking about right now, I think it's more pervasive than is understood. I think a lot more people are experiencing a lot of the things we're talking about right now than understand. And I see it specifically because people are coming to us because they're fatigued and lethargic and there's something wrong, right? And I find that the hormones do a great job, but it's not the whole picture. It's not the whole piece to the puzzle, right? And I start to see like, man, this is something dietary. Like we need to adjust your diet. You're having an inflammatory response to something you're eating, or there's bowel disorder here. And I think a diet change would really do this person, would be the rest of the piece of the puzzle. So I think that there's a lot more leaky gut happening than people realize. So can you explain the leaky gut and exactly how that affects people?
Yeah. So in a nutshell, leaky gut. So we have cells, that are supposed to be super tight, right? So things aren't supposed to get through our gut lining until it's, super tiny down in the capillaries and it's dispersed, right? And so what can happen? So there's a protein called zonulin. Zonulin is what opens up gut cells. It can open up the cell itself, or it can open up the cells from each other. And zonulin goes up, cells come apart, zonulin goes down, cells come back together. Now, it's a totally normal biological process, right? There are certain situations where this happens. If I remember correctly, it's like starvation can cause leaky gut. Pregnancy can cause leaky gut. And so like anything else, it's normal. It goes up and down, but it's when it becomes chronically leaky or zonulin is chronically elevated that we have the situation where we have the cells that come apart. What's going to get into the bloodstream? You're going to have potential for microbes, fungi, food, all of these things that are going into the gut that then goes to the bloodstream. It's not supposed to be there. Body's going to start throwing out signals like this isn't okay. It's going to get angry and mad and inflamed. And that's where we talk about, okay, this is potentially the beginning of autoimmune diseases, but certainly inflammation. And so we have to understand what's causing the leaky gut in the first place so we can manage that, bring that zonulin down, and then address that. Because if that's happening, we're not absorbing our nutrients, right?
Right. And it's letting out things that were supposed to be filtered out by the liver.
Right.
And these are acting as toxins. And another that's going to cause this immune response that's going to cause these inflammatory cytokines. We're going to get into that, and then you have a CIRS response, cellular inflammatory response syndrome, from all this.
Yeah.
Okay. Great explanation. Thank you. I'm sorry, and I did cut you off there. I don't know if you remember where you were.
Oh, no, it's fine. I think that what we want to understand about that, because the leaky gut is like the big term these days, right? It's it's what everybody's talking about. But what we want to, what I think is super important to understand is leaky gut is also leaky cardiovascular system. It's also leaky brain, right? And so it's the same lining.
Okay.
And so we start to think about what that means. And particularly because I don't hear people talking about this very much. I love the cardiovascular side of things. It's not my specialty, but I love it. But if we start to consider the inflammatory response, and we have a situation where the cells on the inside of our arteries are opening up, what's going to happen? We're going to have cells and plaque and calcium and all of these things that go into that area. And because it's not supposed to be open, it's not supposed to stay open. So the body's like, I got to fix it, right? The body's ultimate goal is to keep us alive, even when it occludes an artery, right? Even when there's a stroke, even when, whatever the case may be, the body's trying to help us. It can only do as much as we give it access to. So if we have leaky gut, or if we're not eating well, right? If we're eating McDonald's every day, or even if it's once a week, if we're drinking the Dr. Peppers, which I ate. I mean, I grew up Taco Bell Dr. Pepper, right? It was my thing.
So delicious.
I love Dr. Pepper.
But I don't do it anymore because I want to live well for as long as I can live well. And I know enough to know, I see pictures of what it's doing inside my body, and it freaks me out. But when we have these nutrient deficiencies, the body can't work, and then there's inflammation on top of it. So the nutrients that it has, it's going to be utilizing, it's going to use it all up. So then we become more deficient because it's trying to grab what it can, and then it's going to pull from tissues, and then it's going to pull from bones, right? And so it's going to grab whatever it can because it's trying to keep you alive. So it's fascinating stuff. But same with cognitive health, right? So we've got our vagus nerve that it attaches our gut and our brain to how it communicates. That's why the gut and the brain is basically the same thing, communicates via the microbiome, and they talk to each other. And so if our gut is on fire, our brain's going to be on fire. We can't think. We have anxiety. We've got depression. These are all inflammatory responses to whatever the underlying cause is. And many of us just, we may have similar symptoms. We may have very different symptoms.
Very, very, very interesting. Very interesting. Okay.
Yeah, well said.
Let's move on to, let's see, were we on segment 2 here?
We're on segment 2. I actually was looking to see if we could briefly go over, or take as long as you'd like, the mechanisms behind how poor gut health actually will impact the hormone signaling through metabolism, such as like cortisol, thyroid, sex hormones. What's the mechanism of action where it doesn't suppress the HPTA, does it? Or is it through other mechanisms that you have hormonal imbalance because of gut health? I think it can be all of it. I think it just depends, right? It depends on the person, how the person reacts to it. So certainly it can create HPA axis dysregulation without a doubt, right? And so the way that I see it, so if we have whatever the root cause is, say we've got a serious bacterial infection, right? So stress is like the key thing to everything. And so when we look at stress, we think, typically most people are like, oh, it's financial stress, or it's relational stress, or whatever. Inflammation in the body is going to cause stress. And so that stress, you start to get these nasty spirals, right? So stress causes inflammation, inflammation causes stress. That's going to cause HPA axis dysregulation, which is going to cause stress, which is going to cause inflammation, which is then going to cause blood glucose to go up. And people are like, but I'm not eating any sugar. But that's my next question with people is like, okay, so if you have elevated blood glucose, are you stressed? Yeah. Okay. Right. And so is there infection? What's going on? And so
that's why, you know, everything is intertwined and connected. We can't just go at it and say, it's just this, or we got to just do this. We have to look at the body as the whole story, including mental and emotional health, right? Mental and emotional health can cause an inflammatory response, can cause stress, which is also then going to cause more mental and emotional dysfunction, right? So we have to, you know, what is the mechanism of action? I think it kind of goes back to what the root cause is, or if there are multiple root causes. Or do we go back? Is it trauma as a child? Is it generational trauma? Right? I mean, it can go super deep. And so, you know, those aren't my specialties when it comes to the mental and emotional stuff and going back into, you know, the generational trauma. But I have to know these things because those things are going to push all the things that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Including the hormonal dysregulation.
Yeah. Eric, we can do this question right now because it's right what we're talking about.
About
right
the cortisol or the other one about that.
Well, yeah, this one. Yeah. So
They're
this
both
is
about
exactly
cortisol.
what Nikki's talking about right here. So in it, from what Nikki's saying here is that it could be either one, could be the chicken before the egg, like, because what you just said, right? Did stress start this? But regardless, it's a snowball effect, right? And
right, yeah.
Did stress from a you know, a past experiences start this snowball effect, or was it the eating that started the snowball effect? But either way, that it does seem to snowball. So I think this is a good question. I think that Nikki just kind of answered that, and that's important, right? Is to get down to the root cause of which way is this going? What's the cause of this?
Yeah. And I think if we're looking at, are you talking about the gut motility question? Is that what we're?
Yeah.
I think that, you know, gut motility has a lot to do with the vagus nerve, right? So the vagus nerve innervates the gut and the heart and the lungs and sort of these core. And when we are in a situation where we're in constant overload, constant cortisol, constant sympathetic nervous system, right? Your constant fight or flight, that's going to shut down all of those things. It can just going to shut down gut function and motility. It's going to, you know, it's not going to be great for the heart, right? If it's not functioning well. So we want to, that's why it's so important to work toward being in that parasympathetic. And when I say that, it's simple things, right? For the most part, doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody, but going and walking in the grass, it's all free stuff, right? We can support the adrenals with nutrients, yes, but go walk in the grass, sit at your table with your family and eat calmly and have a nice conversation. Go outside, get in the sun, say a prayer, right? These are the things that bring the body into this parasympathetic state where it has the ability, the vagus nerve has the ability to do its job. And so at the same time, in the parasympathetic, the blood is going to be where it's supposed to be in the core, right? It's that rest and digest. So it allows the body to break down nutrients and do its job and move out bacteria and all these things that aren't supposed to be there. If we're in constant elevated cortisol fight or flight, then the blood is shunted to the periphery and everything here slows down.
Yeah.
And so, because it's that I got to go. And so doing it temporarily, there's something really big going on. It's, you know, cortisol is anti-inflammatory. It helps you to do the job that needs to be done. But when it stays elevated, that's when it's then catabolic and will break down muscle tissue. And that's such a big problem in weight loss because, you know, there's this stress and I can't lose weight, or I'm yo-yo dieting and I lose muscle and I'm just gaining more weight. And it's a big problem. So the simple things, you know, to bring the body into parasympathetic is really, really key to balance in all of this.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that answers this question here then. So does cortisol spike increase glucose?
Can, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And so can like caffeine. So like when you drink coffee, that spikes cortisol, which then spikes glucose.
Oh, no shit. I didn't know that.
Can.
You learn something all the time.
Yeah. But it doesn't mean it's bad. right? So coffee for some people has a place, and that's, genetically for some people, they do really well with it, especially with that ApoE44. Some people do better with coffee because it can support that cognitive function, as long as it's mycotoxin free and it's organic and all the things, right? Because coffee is always super moldy. And so we got to make sure that we're doing good, well-sourced coffee. I can go as deep on that. I mean,
oh yeah, we're gonna be getting into that in a few minutes.
We can also talk about how, we will. We can also talk about how, so coffee, the reason, the mechanism by which it works is, or I mean, it makes you feel good, right? Is it's a MAOI, right? So it inhibits the breakdown of catecholamines such as dopamine. So it allows more dopamine to be floating around in your brain, which is why it makes you feel good, gives you energy, motivation, blah blah blah. But yeah, so I'm trying to think of how to go about this. But so one more thing I wanted to talk about, the gut. You know what? Let's just go into the next part. You mentioned before the testing, right? Like if there's a problem, if there's a fatigue and something, the first thing I'm going to do is just test. Right? Okay, and that's great. Let's talk about the tests that you're going to do. Let's talk about some of these functional medicine tools that you use to address imbalances or address some of these things. We can talk about advanced testing, targeted nutrition, and single nucleotide polymorphisms that we want to, genetic testing that we want to test for.
Yeah. That's my favorite. So what I do for most people, just like I said a little while ago, is 99% of the people I work with, we're doing GI testing and toxin testing, because those are going to be the root causes. I have been I fell in love with genetics many years ago. But I am just starting to work more and more to incorporate it into what I'm doing, because I think it can be such a game changer for people when we incorporate it in with lifestyle, with labs, with symptoms, with goals. It can be a game changer because we have a true understanding of our body. I want to say again, though, people need to know this, that it's not diagnostic. And just because you have a SNP, which everybody has SNPs, there are millions of SNPs, and they're on and off all the time, right? It's just the way that God created it.
To clarify that, so the old way of thinking of genetics, the antiquated notions were that there's what they called a wild type, and like it was almost like they thought, this is kind of an older way of thinking, that normal people all have the same exact genetic code. And the normal, it's all the same. What we're coming to learn, and what we have learned, is that genetics are like everything else. Everybody's genetic code is different. So what we call a single nucleotide polymorphism, although in certain areas, if you have a single nucleotide polymorphism, it can cause a massive problem or issue or disorder, or what we call a disorder or whatever. But essentially, there's also places where there can be SNPs that don't really cause much of a problem. And everybody is unique. Everybody's genetic code. There's no wild type. There's no like what they used to think, that there's a normal. If you're normal, you have this specific amino acid sequence. Or in genetics, it would be the now I have to go back to my biochemistry. it would be the nucleotide sequence, right? Yeah. But which produces an amino acid. I'm getting my genetics all wrong. But we would have this specific nucleotide sequence. But it turns out everybody's is different, and everybody, like you said, everybody's got single nucleotide polymorphisms, and we should probably rethink calling them that, because everybody's got them. So but anyways, sorry. So that's what you mean. Everybody's got polymorphisms. It doesn't necessarily connote a problem, but in certain areas, it's kind of like building a house, right? If you have a problem in a load-bearing wall, then the whole house can kind of come crumbling down, right? Or so it depends on where the single nucleotide polymorphism is to whether or not it can cause a bigger problem. But go ahead.
So here's the way I see it. Oh, there's so much there. So much goodness. Okay. So SNP is a single nucleotide polymorphism. So back to it, genetics different than epigenetics, right? For those, just for the sake of clarity, right? So genetics was what we thought determined everything that we are and who we are, and doesn't matter if we have diabetes in our family, I'm going to have it too, right? Not the case. because of the epigenome. So the epigenome is what turns on and off gene expression. Why I love epigenetics so much is because, for the way that I see it, is this is God's gift of free will. Because our choices, everything that we do day in and day out, the thoughts, the food, the movement, all of these things, those are the things that turn these polymorphisms, these SNPs on and off, impacting genetic expression. And so when we talk about, going back to your example of house, these polymorphisms all have a role. So they can have some negative impact if we don't understand them and know what they're about, but they also have positives. So if we go back to ApoE44, I'm an ApoE44, which is also considered a wild type. So there is still a wild type. It's the oldest, and it's also super problematic in our day-to-day, or can be, right? If you don't understand it and know how to work with it. We don't want to work against it. We want to work with it. But back in, the hunter-gatherer days, then it was protective. I think I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. I think it was more protective of certain viral infections and certain bacterial infections and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So just so everybody understands, the ApoE4 gene controls fat metabolism, right? And so people with the ApoE4 don't use their fat stores as well. So if you were on a ketogenic diet with ApoE4, you would be sluggish, you'd be fatigued and lethargic, because you're not using your fat stores, triglycerides, free fatty acids efficiently enough for energy. So a keto diet would be bad for somebody with ApoE4. And okay, so sorry, just so people understood. So continue. This is great information. Yeah,
it's very cool. It's also for I think it's important to know, this is the Alzheimer's gene, right? And so the ApoE44 is, there's a significant increase in chances for Alzheimer's. Now, interestingly enough, I don't have it. I've never seen anybody in my family with Alzheimer's, but I have the ApoE44. So what am I going to do? So yes, I've been digging deep into it because I want to understand what it means for me when I eat, how I eat, what I eat, the fat, and it's in particular saturated fats, because it will cause inflammation. And so I don't want to go too crazy with this, but it is important because this is the stuff, going back to how we can personalize and utilize this data. This is the stuff that helps us understand, for people like me and people who have other variants, that can be problematic, although they're not wrong, right? We're not created wrong, but we just have to learn to work with what we are. And so I have an understanding of how I need to eat, how much saturated fat I should have. I watch saturated fat, even if it's from a healthy grass-fed animal, which that's what I eat. I'm very careful with it. I don't mix my saturated fats with carbohydrates, because it's super problematic, inflammatory, cognitive dysfunction, right? So there's a lot to it, but it's so freaking cool because it gives me the power to manage and work with my body for today and for the rest of my life. So my risk of Alzheimer's, I'm much less concerned about, because I know how to work with my body. People are often afraid of doing genetic testing because of that. They're like, I don't want to know. This is power. This is power, and power means we make good choices for however long. And we don't always make good choices. I don't always make good choices, but I make much better choices because I know my potential.
Oh, information is power, right? So what I want to highlight here is you're absolutely right. And the genetic what you just described is exactly what we're building, right? About how we want to use our genetic testing, our lab results, our personal history, and combine it all to come up with a personalized, customized kind of playbook for health, for our personal health, right?
Yeah.
So what I want to illustrate here, though, is that even the current genetic testing, let's see, the readouts, the information that you get from the genetic testing companies, I don't know if it's a function that they don't understand how to give really clear, actionable data, or if they're just so scared of being told that they might be giving medical advice, that they steer so clear from it. But what we found is that the genetic testing companies, the information that because they, you have to third party your genetic testing, right? We send it to a company, they give us back the results, and then they usually try to make it fancy for the people, and they give you this information on your specific genetic data, but it's terrible, right? It's like they don't I don't know if it's a function of they just haven't perfected that part about actually giving people actionable data, what you can do, or whether they're scared of being told, oh, you can't give medical advice, so the information they give is so bland and ambiguous that it's not helpful. So we have to synthesize all that data and come up with an actual actionable plan. So I think it's important, if the genetic company you're using is just giving you that bland data, then it's really not super helpful. We synthesize the data and come up with actual plans. We actually take all the single nucleotide polymorphisms and we have SG Analytics building this massive machine learning that's actually gonna help us analyze all the data and give us actionable information from hundreds of thousands, even millions of data points that we've entered into it, right? So we have like this, this specific system that will, again, give you good data and wrap it all up. So I think, and maybe that's, but this is exactly what you're talking about. Let's wrap everything together and then come up with an actionable plan with all of the data together. And I think exactly what you're talking about is really important to understand if you have the ApoE4. Another one obviously is the MTHFR. Can you talk about that and what you would do for somebody? I've come to understand too that there's actually like 50 different variations of the MTHFR mutation. So it's not super clear cut as in you just have it or you don't. You can have different variations of it. So can you talk about that and like what you would do depending on how somebody tests for that?
Yeah. So let me hit on something first real quick, because I think it's important, because I see this in practice a lot is, when I talk about genetic testing, people are like, oh yeah, okay, well, I got the 23andMe or I got the ancestry.com and that kind of stuff. And with the genetic testing that is your mainstream, I can buy it offline kind of stuff. That stuff, it's not worth it as far as I'm concerned. For one, I fear I did it, right? I didn't know the difference. I'm like, ooh, genetics, let's do it, right? I've probably done 4 different genetic tests. I'm like, your genetics don't change. Is it worth it? But yeah, data's good, right? But I would not do any of those. I wouldn't do any of your mainstream because they're not going to give you the information that you want. I think it's important to know. For me, I use practitioner genetic testing, right? And I get the information, and I've used several at this point. I get the information, it's good reporting, but then I take it and I dial it in even more, because I think for that person, I know with the client that I'm working with, I can look at their test. I'm the one then who knows their goals, their symptoms, their labs. And that's where, yes, you take it and you layer in the information. So there has to be someone doing that part of it, where we're probably moving toward AI can do a lot of that stuff too. Right. But, which is amazing. What a time saver it is to be able to build that stuff out for people. It's fascinating. Good stuff.
And we're the only company doing that, but that's exactly what we're doing. So that we can process data. Not only can we do it for, thousands and thousands of people, but we can also do it on real-time basis, right? So, so now let's take a look at uploading data every day from Oura Ring or your Apple Watch, and then layering that with every blood test that comes in, your genetic data, and new personal history, and brand new symptoms or side effects or the way you're feeling, right? Layer it all together, and we can continuously run all this data together and come up with real-time change in protocols, or maybe change in treatments, or change in guidance based on what's going on right now and the new information that's coming in. So it's really exciting. Nobody else is doing this. We have a massive health tech platform. I apologize. I didn't mean to steal your spotlight, but this is great. What we're talking about is fantastic. So let's continue along with what you were just talking about.
Yeah. No, what's cool is, so I don't have the company that you have, but I also am doing that, but just on a much smaller, more individualized scale, right? You know, any of the data that I'm getting, I'm putting it in, and I'm creating reports for people based on where they are today, and we can just keep adding to it. It's awesome. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So as far as MTHFR, you know, it's an interesting one because it plays a role in so many different things. And you've got, and this is something that I don't know. I have not heard that there are 50 different variations of the MTHFR. There's, you know, the C677T and the 1298C. And I know I have one 1298C, and I you know, just had a couple of clients who have two, you know, they're homozygous for the C677T, which is sort of the one that is the most scary. It's not scary, right? But it's the one that can have an impact on methylation, which has, you know, methylation plays a role in genetic expression, detoxification, fertility, homocysteine, you know, going back to, you know, I get so frustrated. I test homocysteine on everyone, right? Everyone I can. Because, you know, it's looked at in mainstream medicine as a cardiovascular inflammatory marker, but it's a cognitive marker, right? I know you know this, and I'm like, I have pushback from doctors all the time. This person's 25. I'm not testing their homocysteine. I'm like, if they're deficient in B12, folate, magnesium, trimethylglycine, they're gonna have they might have high homocysteine. And anyway, it's a thing that just makes me crazy. I'm like, why not test it? Why not test everything we can possibly test and let people advocate for themselves? And
Totally agree with you. So let's go and start to explain the MTHFR and why the homocysteine is raised. So the methylation affects certain absorption of B vitamins in the situation that you're talking about.
Yeah, so there are a couple of things, and it can be a little bit convoluted, and
we're nerdy here, so go ahead and get as nerdy as you want. We dive deep into mechanisms of action, so don't be afraid to get too nerdy about it.
Okay. Well, I'll go as deep as I can. I'm not a super expert on genetics. I want to be, and that's my goal, and I'm working toward it, but I'm not there yet. So, but, you know, I think what's an important piece of this that is so important, especially for women, is folic acid. We're told that we're supposed to take folic acid to get pregnant. We're supposed to take folic acid while we're pregnant. We're supposed to take folic acid. Folic acid is synthetic and it's dangerous. And so what it does also is it can, for those who have MTHFR SNPs, they can, folic acid like gives it levels off. You can't absorb all the folate that you need to absorb. Does that make sense? So you can't get all that you're supposed to get. They can also push anxiety, right? So if I have someone with, I may not even know they have MTHFR. If I put them on methylated B vitamins and like something happened, I'm super anxious. I'm like, okay, we need to put you on a different form and not methylated. So that's where it can get a little bit convoluted, because some people, yes, they need the methylated forms. Some people, the methylated is too much. So then we've got to go into the other forms that are going to be that are going to be better for them. So, you know,
I'm sorry, and I apologize. The only reason I want to interrupt, because I think what you're saying is important right here. And what I want to say is that I caught some people online talking about, oh, I take methylated vitamins just in case I have the MTHFR, but explain how that can be dangerous. Now, if we're taking methylated vitamins and we over methylate, then that can cause problems too.
Yeah, we don't want to over methylate. I think it's worse to under methylate. But yeah, we want to. I mean, it's never. Very rare cases is more better, right? It's a balance, and we got to understand. And so we do. I think most of us do want the activated form. But we have to take all of the other things into consideration. Anybody I work with who says I have anxiety, I'm always going to have in the front of my head, can they or can they not do methylated B vitamins? I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. And so yeah, but there are, you know, there's folinic acid, right? And for B12, there's you've got the methylated B12, but then you've also got the adenosyl form, and you've got the other one's not coming to me right now. I don't know why it's not coming to me, but you've got two other forms that are more mitochondrial forms, as opposed to that can keep people from getting too anxious. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Not super sciencey there, but I think another thing that's important is, because people know this, MTHFR was sort of that first SNP that came to, Ben Lynch brought it to the forefront, and people get afraid of it, and they're fearful for fertility purposes and things like that. And I want to make sure that we go back and understand that it's not anything to be afraid of. It's just what we have to work with and manage. So it's not a huge deal, but we still have to be aware and know what to test and how to test and what we're keeping track of. And if we ever have, if we start having these symptoms, we start having, elevated go back to homocysteine.
Yeah.
If I see it elevated one time, I'm going to tell that person, you need to watch your homocysteine for the rest of your life. Just always have it tested every year. When you get your labs done, just test for homocysteine so you know it's staying in the right spot. And I'll say that with, a few things, but I think that it's also a cardiovascular risk factor, right? So it's all of these things if we don't know how to manage it.
If somebody has the MTHFR mutation and they have high homocysteine, how would you say to manage that? Like, is it just the methylated vitamins, or is it what would you say?
Yeah, there are a couple of things. So homocysteine can be elevated due to nutrient deficiencies. So it's going to be the B vitamins, trimethylglycine, your methylated nutrients, right?
Yeah.
So if you're low in those, then your homocysteine can go up, because essentially what's happening is homocysteine is supposed to go, it's going up the pathway, and there are these enzymes that are supposed to continue it on down the pathway so it doesn't stay elevated. Well, if those enzymes aren't functioning properly, it stays elevated, and then it becomes inflammatory and a problem. So the other things that can increase homocysteine, oxidative stress can do it. Low creatine can do it, right? So the body's supposed to make creatine. There are SNPs that will keep the body, certain SNPs, I don't remember which one it is right now, but it can make the body not make enough creatine, which can also cause muscle pain. So those are the things that I know of. So if I see elevated homocysteine, the first thing I'm going to do is do supplements that are specific to methylation and bringing homocysteine down. I've seen a couple of cases where homocysteine was up at 18. Pretty healthy people. And so I'm like, what's going on? And the nutrients didn't bring it down. So then my thought is, okay, is it because of oxidative stress? Is there something going on? Are there metals? Are there environmental toxins, things like that are pushing the inflammatory response in the body? So, and then the creatine.
That's okay. That was really good information. That's interesting. That's I think we just helped a lot of people there.
Good. Can I add one more thing real quick?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Because
please do.
If we're looking at homocysteine, if we're looking at lab ranges, the high end, a lot of times is going to be sitting at like 13. But what the data shows, at least from Dr. Bredesen, who's, the sort of the key Alzheimer's expert, is anything over 11 is 100% chance of cognitive decline. So we have to be so careful with just looking at lab ranges and saying, I'm fine. My lab ranges show that I'm fine, because it's not the case. It needs to be right around 7, no lower than 6. But if I start to see it even up at 8 and 9, I'm starting to do things to manage that homocysteine and bring it down. So keep that in mind. And homocysteine is not the only marker, right? There are lots of markers that we want to really look at and make it. Just the lab ranges are not great. Lab ranges are not optimal.
Yeah. We preach that all the time. All the time we educate about that. And to be honest with you, sometimes inside the lab range is still not optimal. Like you need to be above, like testosterone, for instance. Nobody's really fully optimal inside the range for testosterone, especially not females. Right? Like the most consistent benefits are found in levels that exceed the normal range in almost all cases for men and women, especially women. It's worse for women than it is for men.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. We have this fear built into to lab ranges,
Mhm.
potentially, you know, with some, especially things like hormones, right? Oh, I can't go too high.
Yeah.
And we, you know, we don't want hair on our face, you know, because that stuff can happen. But we have to take into consideration where we are in our health. You know, that's the key to all of it. How healthy are you? Go ahead.
Yeah, or understanding where the ranges come from, and it's not science. Like the ranges don't come from science saying, "Oh yeah, we did research, and inside this range is where all the biochemical reactions are happening properly, and outside this range is dangerous." That's not where they come from at all. Not even close. It came from usually one study, sometimes a couple studies, an average subset of the population. And when we say average subset, it's people who are not exercising, eating well, you know, doing the right things. It's an average person that doesn't do all the right things. And it comes from an average, and then they take percentiles outside of that range. It's statistical equations, not science. No science will show, yeah, this is where the biochemistry is happening properly. Statistics, mathematical equations that don't bring science into it at all. And then that's the range. It's like, well, okay, it turns out that the middle to lower quartiles of hormone ranges are actually suboptimal, and you're experiencing hormone deficiency at the bottom of the ranges, right? It's yeah.
It's so sad.
It is, and it's very misleading, and it's part of it's a major part of the problem because people think that I'm good, I'm in the range, and doctors think the same thing. Doctors are like, oh, you're good. What I also want to say is what you're talking about homocysteine is like actually the top of the range is not good. I find the same thing with monocytes. So when I'm looking at differentials to see one of the things I have learned to look for, because I look at so much blood work, is this person having an immune response from something they're eating, or heavy metals, or maybe Epstein Barr, or chronic Lyme or something? Are they having immune response? And one thing I've learned is that a monocyte of 10 or above can be a good indication that you're having an immune response. You're having an overactive immune response to something. And if it stays there, like you have, like it's something you're eating, or it could be, you know, again, Epstein Barr, chronic Lyme, or something, right? And 10 is in the range for a lot, for a lot, right? So people are like, oh, I'm good, I'm 10. Well, 10 is not good. It means that you're having something's going on. So I agree with you. Like the ranges are just so misleading. I just can't stand any. Yeah. And it depends on the context.
Eosinophils, right? Eosinophils can mean parasites.
Yeah.
And we don't look at those, right?
Yeah.
And if they're elevated, we're like, outside of functional range.
Yeah. Very interesting. So this is perfect segue into the CIRS topic, right? So,
well, actually, before we move on to the CIRS topic, we're going to take a little break here for a couple of questions to get these out of the way. And of course, members come first. We do have a couple other questions. We got one here from Boston Sean. What should someone look for, Nikki, in a nutritionist? Degrees, licensing, certs, certifications. How do you find a good one?
Just come to us. We'll be partnered with Amy and maybe Nikki if we talk about, but we'll get you in front of one of those two, and you'll have access. No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
I'm actually not kidding, but at the same time, Nikki will explain to you what you should look for.
So I think first and foremost, I think it's important to interview people. I really do. I have people interview me all the time, and some people choose me and some people don't. And, you know, some people connect and some people don't. But when it comes to education, so I considered going to dietetics just to have I already have a master's degree. We're like, oh, I could have another master's degree. Maybe I do that. But I couldn't do it because I don't believe in the conventional way that we look at food. Right?
So my girlfriend is a registered dietitian, and she says this all the time. She goes, why do I have to push this information that I don't agree with, like within clinical nutrition? She doesn't agree with it, but it's the way they're taught this. You know, they have the way of doing things, and so I understand that. And so does Christina.
Yeah. And it's not a knock, you know, everybody has their way of doing things, and it's not a knock at all. But I will say that what I see in the conferences that I go to are lots of RDs and lots of medical doctors and lots of DOs who are going to the functional medicine conferences because they're like, there's something more, right? We need more than what we're doing right now. And so, and I have great friends. I have a couple of them who are registered dietitians, but they're practicing more of the functional medicine, functional nutrition, because it's root cause, right? We don't look to cover up. We look to understand why. And that's kind of the biggest thing overarching over all of this, is never stop asking why, to start digging. So, there are lots of different certifications out there. There are lots of different degrees out there. There are more and more now moving toward, or, sort of what I'm moving toward is, really the certifications in the functional world, more certifications in things like the nutrigenomics. I'm working on certifications in the nutrigenomics, and really digging into those areas. And so I fully believe that it's important to understand their viewpoint, and that you're aligned in your viewpoint when it comes to your health, and that they're going to listen to you, and that there's not, they're not going to be dogmatic, right? You have to work together. Like, you have to work with your body. You've got to work. I mean, that's what I want. I want to be part of their team, right? Some people need larger teams than others, but I want to be their partner in helping them reach their goals. And I'm not going to sit there and say, this is what you have to do, or we can't work together, right? It's, everybody's different and has to work through it. So, I think the degrees and the certifications are good. I think that they're important because it does help you understand getting to the root cause of things. But you got some super smart people out there who have no degrees and no certifications, and probably know a hell of a lot more than I do. So I do think I'm not giving a really good answer, because I think you need to go with somebody who knows how to dig and wants to dig, wants to. That's really kind of the key. Does that make sense? It's not super helpful, but
it makes total sense. Like it makes total sense because of what we talked about, right? So as an example, myself, right? Like, I'm not a medical doctor. I have more experience than almost anybody in the country, close to the world, when it comes to hormones, because of my unique history, and the kind of like what you just talked about, what we just talked about. If you went to school for this, you learned, you were indoctrinated, and I don't want to say that necessarily negative. You're indoctrinated with a certain way of thinking and a certain education, and we have come to find that a lot of that is not exactly correct. Right? And that there's better ways to do things, and that there's different ways to do things. So having the degrees means that you learned things in this specific way, and you might need to understand how to do things this way. It's the same thing with hormone replacement therapy. If you were a medical doctor or a provider in the United States, we know that in medical school, you did not learn about hormones. You didn't learn how to balance them. You don't learn about testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, and you don't know how to utilize those hormones. So it honestly takes somebody who has solely devoted their study to solely that field, and can, and has a lot of experience in that to be able to do it, which again is not somebody who went to medical school. So yeah, what you're saying totally makes sense. It's more about interviewing the person and seeing if you're comfortable with the person and their knowledge base and their devotion to digging and figuring out exactly what's wrong with you, individual. Right?
Yeah.
I like it.
Very good. All right. Before we move on to the CIRS topic, we're going to take this last question here, and then we're going to get cooking on that one, because that's going to be a good one. Here from Ryan Parsons. So does ApoE4 increase pharmacodynamic effects, specifically enhance cerebral responsiveness, resulting in stronger cortisol response to stressors? I got to go down this rabbit hole now.
I don't know. I would assume so, only because we do have I say we because it's me, but I do have the potential of pushing inflammation more easily, I think, than others. And I don't want to say that for sure. So I think I don't want to really answer, because I don't want to just sit here and kind of think through it and be not right. So I don't know, but to me it would make sense, because it is increasing neurological inflammation, and so I would say yeah, but I don't know. Don't ask me mechanism of action.
Ryan will go down that rabbit hole. Ryan is a digger and a grinder, and he'll go down that rabbit hole. He may have a response for us by the time we end this show.
Awesome.
Yeah, you probably will. But I'm glad you brought up inflammation there, because that's perfect segue point into what we're going to get into. We'd like to talk about CIRS now, which is chronic inflammation response syndrome. And we just like to transition from general inflammation caused by gut dysfunction to severe chronic inflammation known as CIRS.
Mm-hmm. I'll just start out and tell you my experience with this, because just by a function of, again, having a hormone replacement therapy clinic, people come to us. One of the main symptoms is fatigue and lethargy, and I've started to learn that there's something else. Like hormones do a certain job, but there's more root cause, right? And so over time, they're starting to learn, because we've gotten a lot of patients. I don't want to say a lot. We've gotten some patients who've been diagnosed with chronic Lyme disease, right? And some of them actually can parse it back to a tick bite where they had Lyme disease, and some of them can't. So it's like one of the problems is the medical community just tries to label these things as fast as they can, right? And they call the same. Yeah, mm-hmm. They call this, and just so they can label it. Oh, good, I labeled it. I put it in a neat box. Now I can throw it out and say, "There's nothing we can do for you," right? And that's part of it. It's disgusting, but that's what happens. So and a lot of times they name it the wrong thing, or they give it such a generalized name that it's stupid, like chronic fatigue syndrome. That's another. They just what is that?
Syndrome, right?
Yeah. All it is it's this concept, right, of chronic inflammatory response syndrome. All kind of, and they call it chronic Lyme or chronic fatigue syndrome. Fibromyalgia is another just inflammatory response that's causing a
it's
problem.
the umbrella effect.
Yeah. So Epstein Barr is another thing, right? But Epstein Barr is real, and chronic Lyme can be real, but sometimes it gets mislabeled, and it's all under this umbrella of this concept, right? And this concept is cellular inflammatory response syndrome. And this is when and it could be diet too. It can be toxins. It can be leaky gut. It can be all these. It can be something that you're eating you don't even realize is causing allergic response. The gluten allergy is one of these things that people started really catching on, and then gluten became this huge thing for a while. I don't know if it sort of still is, but it's all the same concept, right? Your body your immune system is attacking something. And when your immune system attacks something inside your cells, it causes the inflammatory cytokines that inflame the cell walls. Now, every cell in our body has a function for the greater body. If we inflame the cells because our immune system is attacking it, then it's hard for things to get inside the cell, such as creatine, right, or nutrients. B vitamins have to get in, or it's hard. Every cell has a function, and that's a peptide or a protein that diffuses outside of the cell and has some function for the greater body, whether it be paracrine in nature or whatever. It has some function for the greater body. And if our cell walls are inflamed, then things can't get outside of the cell as easily, and it impairs your body's function. The end result of this is either organ dysfunction or just massive bone crushing fatigue, because your body just isn't working properly. And this is where we get this huge gut dysbiosis or inflammatory bowel disease, right? That's a function of this inflammatory or cellular inflammatory response syndrome happening inside the gut. So again, just what I've seen, right, and specifically testosterone, right? Testosterone, one of its function is actually to suppress overactive immune system. So it does suppress the differentiation into T helper cells. So you have a T helper cell, it has to differentiate before it can be utilized. It differentiates into T helper 1 or T helper 2. And testosterone actually suppresses that differentiation to suppress overactive immune systems. It's one of its functions. So what I've seen is people with these cellular inflammatory response, either chronic Lyme. I've had multiple chronic Lyme patients, is they'll say that now we get them testosterone and it helps the condition. Like they explain their condition for their energy on a scale of 1 to 10. Their energy is a -10. And they'll say testosterone at least got them up to a 5 or so, right? But it's not perfect, but they can function now, whereas they were bedridden before, right? But again, I've also talked with people with chronic Lyme. They were diagnosed with this chronic Lyme or chronic fatigue syndrome, and they can get themselves functionable through the hormones and diets. And a lot of the diet can really help, and they can't eat certain things and they have to stick on a strict, very, very strict diet. So talk to us a little bit about this. Like, what is, if somebody came to you with chronic Lyme or one of these umbrella conditions, like how would you handle that? And by the way, I think a lot more people have these than understand, or they have different variations. As with anything, you can have it really, really significantly where you're bedridden, or you can have this slight fatigue, maybe from something you're eating that's causing this, you're having like a small allergic reaction to it, and it's causing this cellular inflammatory response syndrome to a milder degree. There's everything in between. There's mild, there's serious, everything in between. And I think I think this is pervasive, and many more people are suffering from this than they understand. They don't even know it could be something they're eating or they're something in their diet that's causing this.
Yeah, for sure. You know, there's so much there, because if you're asking me, somebody comes to me with chronic Lyme, it's so complex, right? Yeah. Because you have all of the different organisms that can be involved in chronic Lyme. You've got potentially mold, Lyme and mold tend to go together. It's this situation where I think essentially the immune system is unable to function properly, so it can't protect you. And that's its goal, is to protect you and protect itself. I think that what I want to be careful of is using the word dysfunction, because it goes back to the body. The body is amazing in the way that it works, but it's going to work with what it has, and it's not going to work well with what it doesn't have. And if it's inundated with microbes, Lyme, mold, metals, going back to those foundational sort of root cause issues, it's going to have a hard time. It's just going to do what it can do. So, I have worked with people with Lyme and mold. I worked with an immunologist for a while, where, saw some of the sickest people I've ever seen. And it's a tough place to be.
It's hard to watch, to know somebody who's going through this massive bone crushing chronic fatigue because of that. It's like, it's the
fatigue, the pain, the all of the things that go with it. And then you add on the drugs that they're given, that create even more issues. They're like, sorry about my dogs, they're outside, I promise, but they're like, it's cold.
We like that.
But it's tough to watch. And so it's a whole unwinding of so many different things. And really for me, what I do in situations like that is I'm going to co-manage, because, what I have access to is not going to be as great as somebody like, a regenerative medicine doc who, a guy I work with, who sees a lot of this stuff, who can do, the EBU and the chelation therapy and the ozone and all of these things that have much more potential of going deeper to the cellular level, allowing for, cellular healing, as opposed to, the things that I can do. And so we have to have those things accessible. We have amazing therapies to help people who are super struggling, because you're right. We have to, the things like, simple enough, like phosphatidylcholine, right? So it's important for liver function, detoxification, for cellular function. And we can give that in an IV, and it's going to go a lot deeper than if I were to say, let's just do some, PC, orally. It's good, but it's not as good as it could be. So we've got to have, this is where you need a team, people who are struggling like that, they've got to have their team. And I fully agree that because hormones are communicators, and the fact that they're so dysregulated, and there's so much cellular dysfunction, and nutrients can't get into the cells, and they can't do their job, to go in and help the body to function better with these exogenous hormones, I think makes perfect sense. And I can see why it would help. Just like any other exogenous nutrient to allow the body to function, we've got to start repairing those cells Sometimes we got to figure out how to repair them. There's, because there's so many different things that are going on. So, yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but somebody that chronic needs a lot of help from a lot of different people, probably not just me. I think co-managing, building a team is really important.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's complex, right? And just kind of breaking it down. And I guess, my guess is what you would start with, what's smart to start with is finding, okay, again, like we always talk about, what's the root cause? Like, what is the allergen that's causing this problem? If it is Lyme, then we have to deal with that. If we got to figure out if it's something in your diet. And I think this is happening with a lot of people in their diets. You start to see so many people let's give an example is just, I mean, how many people have we seen just go on either a carnivore or a total keto diet and just feel so much better, and they lose a ton of weight, and it's not necessarily fat. They lose a lot of weight in the beginning because it's all water retention, and a lot of this inflammation just drops when they drop the carbohydrates. And that kind of leads me into another thing. Like, do you experience people who we just talked about ApoE4, where people don't deal with fat, so they don't do well on keto. Those people don't do well on ketos. Well, we start to see the opposite. Like, people don't do well with carbs at all. And there's certain people who just have this massive inflammatory and adverse responses from carbohydrates almost in any form. Have you seen that? Have you seen things like that?
Yeah, everything that you're saying really goes back to the microbiome.
Yeah.
Because, when people do well on carnivore, and I know that there's some data out there, and, I tried it myself. I'm going to try everything, right? I've done it all. I've tried keto. I did the whole thing.
Yeah.
But when people do better on carnivore, it's likely because they don't have the robust microbiome and the diversity of the bugs they need in order to break down things like the carbohydrates, right? So I think there are so many different factors with carnivore, right? Carnivore, you're going from eating whatever you want to eat, it typically, right, to eating one thing. You're eating meat, and meat, for most people, it's not a high allergen food.
Yeah.
I hope that they're eating grass-fed, right? I mean, that's because otherwise it's inflammatory. But I think that there's a lot to that. But then you get to the point to where your microbiome can change in an instant. It can take, I don't know, a day or 2 days or 3 days or something like that to change your microbiome. So you're eating carnivore all the time. It's going to be hard to go back to eating the other stuff, and certainly you're going to react because you don't have the right bugs to help you to digest your food. I think it's the same thing with things like legumes, right? So we can have SNPs that, well, especially I'm thinking of oxalates is what I'm thinking of. So spinach, spinach, your cruciferous vegetables, stuff like that. People don't always do well with those. We can have SNPs that are oxalates. We can have bacteria that are supposed to break down oxalates if we don't have those bacteria. So we can have both of those things that can work for us or against us. But then you've got, some people don't do well with legumes. Are they not doing well for what reason? Because they're sensitive to lectins, or because they don't have the microbiome to break it down in the first place? So it goes back to, I think that we have to be uber focused on good, high fiber, real fiber, good, nuts and seeds and polyphenols, these things from fruits that are going to feed our microbiome and build out the diversity that we need in order to eat all of the foods that we've been given, right? The food is food. It's supposed to be good. Even wheat, right? Now there are SNPs that can make us sensitive to gluten, but they don't have to express, right? And so the problem with our wheat now is it's hybridized, it's full of pesticides and herbicides, and the gluten content is sky high. So the body's like, I don't know what the hell to do with this. So it hits our morphine receptor sites in our brain and things go wonky. One of my favorite stories, and I probably sort of just went off a little bit, but I can't help it.
It's okay.
But when I was in school, I can't remember the book, but it was a book about a psychiatrist or a psychiatric hospital. It's a schizophrenic hospital. So all their patients were in there, and they decided, I think it was in the 50s, which is crazy that it was in the 50s, but they decided to take out all of the gluten-containing products for these patients, and the schizophrenic events dropped like significantly.
Wow.
Fascinating, right?
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that is crazy.
Yeah. So gluten is a deal. It's a big deal, and
Yeah.
it can be, but it's not for everyone, and it doesn't mean everyone has to avoid it. You know, you hear it all the time, and it's absolutely true. You go to Europe, it's a very different food than it is over here. And so again, almost nothing's black and white. There are so many factors that go into all of these, the diets and the foods and all of these things. And ideally, we just eat food. And sometimes it doesn't work that way because stuff that we got going on, but we're supposed to just be able to eat food and nourish our bodies. It should be pretty basic.
Yeah.
It's supposed to not be very basic.
Yeah. The microbiome. So we should all just eat each other's poop, and then we'll have.
No, I wouldn't recommend that one.
I think that's what I hear you say. That's what I hear you.
Eat healthy poop. You got to find a healthy person, eat their healthy poop. That's fine. But
Find a healthy person who has none of these issues and eat their poop, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's the answer. Okay. All right. This has all been great information.
Yeah, it sure has
been great information, Nikki. This has been fantastic. Okay, what's next, Eric?
Well, we can continue to. Well, we could actually move on from this, or we could take a couple questions here before we move on. Why don't we do that actually real quick? Here we go. This one here specifically for Nikki. Go hormones for me, or H4M. Has Nikki worked with vets? This is a lot of us that have these issues post-military, meaning the service. Ryan was saying, Ryan Parsons.
I worked with a few, not a lot, but I have worked with a few. I have one in particular who struggles with a lot of anxiety. You know, it's so interesting the things that vets are put through that makes it hard when you come back. So it's not I'm not an expert in that world, but I have worked with a few. So I don't know if that really is helpful or not. There's a lot going on there. There's a lot. I think that's where, you know, people need a team, you know, to help with all aspects of what you got to deal with coming back.
All right. And Ryan, this next question is going to actually segue into the Evergreen talking points, which we're going to get into. We have Simon N holding a wrench, and he is serious. Do you guys have the t-shirts yet? Because we do have the new website up.
That's a great question. We did get some new t-shirts in. I don't know if we're I don't know when we plan on offering the apparel. I don't know. I have a whole team that's doing all the marketing and the business development on that side. I am more about the ops and videos and education and side and actually the treatment protocol side. So I'm not sure, but we'll let you know. I'll find that out.
Oh, wow. He's wearing one right now. He says he's got the old school black one, I believe he's talking about.
Oh, Ryan's wearing one. Oh yeah. Yeah. We sent Ryan the old school one. Yeah. That's going to be with the old logo. Those are going to be, TAF. There's a term for it when you use the old logo. I can't remember, but, Ruben Baca asked us just kind of what we're talking about the fecal transplants. So
yeah, and then he said something about the name of her book. But first, let's pull up Ruben Baca here. Can you ask Nikki if she's familiar with Sabine Hazen and her gut biome research? She does clinical fecal transplants. Her book is called, that's where he said, Let's Talk Shit is the name of her book. I thought he was talking about Nikki before.
I think I've heard of that book. And I think that's amazing. And it's changing people's lives. It really is. It's cool stuff. Yeah.
That Netflix documentary, you should watch it. It's fascinating. But yeah, it was changing people's lives when they were doing these fecal transplants.
The people who created Thana, that's, you know, during COVID, that's kind of what they were doing, is they started experimenting and then really honing in on how to do these fecal transplants well and make changes. Then COVID hit, and they weren't able to do as much. And so that's how they got to doing the Thena. And so we used just an oral pill. But yeah, it sounds terrible, but it's pretty awesome.
That's interesting, because there was a company that was doing this that was featured on this documentary, and it could have been them. I'm not sure. I don't know. It could have been them, but they did feature a company that was actually doing this. It was pretty funny.
Okay.
I mean, it was very interesting. I do recommend it. I recommend people watch it, because it was all about exactly what we're talking about, and it it got slightly graphic almost when it kind of showed people encapsulating their own feces and then setting it in these freezers, and they had these big things of encapsulated poop in freezers. And okay, well, all right, it was working though.
Yeah,
there was
trying to look
dramatic
it up and see.
there was dramatic results, so it was fun though.
Yeah, so we're going to move on now to the next segment. Looks like we've cleared the chat board for now. Ryan, I am going to be passing this off to you. This is the Evergreen segment. Of course, you got the new site up, and it does state that it's legit script, pharmacy certified 503A pharmacies, flexible lab options, large network of expert providers, 24/7 customer support service. So could you please elaborate on that, Ryan?
Sure. On all of those topics, or was there any specific one?
Yeah, it was. You have the outline pulled up?
Yeah, I guess I do.
Yeah, it just just explain, like, as far as what legit script certified 503A pharmacies represents and why it's so trusted.
Yeah, legit scripts, they go through extra compliance. So there's just make sure that there's standards in place for that even kind of go beyond just the FDA standard. So we do use legit script certified pharmacies, which just, again, it's an extra layer of compliance and regulation. We can talk about this we'll talk about it on a different episode. It's a whole nother thing. So, but yeah, we do use a lot of most of our main pharmacies are legit script certified.
Okay. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I was just going to move on to the lab options. So like we were talking about, we're building more labs into our portfolio. So right now we have, just like a minimum lab requirement that we need to be able to treat somebody with hormones, male and female. And then we have like a more comprehensive lab that we've set up. We have different things like a thyroid panel. We have, and in the near future, we're going to have all these other things where we're actually going to test you for potential clotting factors. Again, like factor 5 Leiden, thrombin, antithrombin, where if you have any of these conditions, you might be more susceptible to clotting. So we could plan accordingly, right? We'll have let's see, is this just about okay, yeah. So and we're going to keep incorporating those different things. So we'll have all these, there's even different things to check. Nikki was mentioning this. If you have inflammation within the arteries, the vessels, the vessel lining, you're more susceptible to deposit plaque, and that's where atherosclerosis can build up. There's actually blood tests where you can test, are you exhibiting some of these enzymes and different things that are indicating inflammation inside the arteries? Like, this is important to know. Instead of just saying, hey, your LDL, bad cholesterol is high. I hate that. Your bad cholesterol is high. Therefore, let's just knock you with a statin and send you on your way. When cholesterol is very important. It's important, especially for people who are athletic, people who are in the gym. You're going to have a high LDL. It's important for hormones. It's important for brain function. Your brain is made up mostly of cholesterol. I don't know. And it's so it's like, it's not always bad. It's bad if it's depositing, but it's not bad if your body's mobilizing cholesterol because it needs it for all the different
If you're inflamed, it can oxidize your cholesterol particles, and that's creating problems. So keep the inflammation down.
Yeah. And we have tested there's blood tests you can take to see if you're inflamed, right? And specifically for the arteries. So we're going to have a panel for that, right? And so we're all going to be testing all these specific things. So that's where the labs are going, and we're building that portfolio. We don't have it all built yet, but we're building it, and we'll have all that available soon. So our network of providers, we added a new provider. So we have 4 right now, and we're going to be adding more, but this gives us 50 state coverage. So now we can treat people in all 50 states, including DC, and pretty soon we're going to have the ability to treat some of the annexed territories as well, Puerto Rico. So, oh my gosh, here's our CFO. Hey.
Hey, his Pacific Rim job. I love it. And to put it into context, Ryan, I had recently sent you a short promo video that I had found from way back, and it was 23 months ago. You guys had 3 states.
Was it 23 months ago? Oh, wow. 23
months ago, you had 3 states, wow. And 23 months later, you have now 50.
50 states. Wow.
How far you've come, right?
Yeah. You forget, like when you're in the weeds and just building this every day, like you don't realize, you don't get a chance to step back and look all the way back and say, wow, we've come a long way. We only had 3 states 23 months ago, Nikki. Can you believe it?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
50 it's really quite a few more patients and a lot more technology now too.
So cool. Yeah. Congratulations.
And I would say that the majority of the states came in within probably just a little more than the last year. Yeah. Really. Mm-hmm. The majority anyway, you know. Mm-hmm. So that's fantastic. So moving on, were you done with the board certified telemed? Okay, yeah. I wanted to ask then, 24 customer service support. How does that work?
Yeah. Let me say one more thing about the providers. So our providers are good. So we're not shy about talking about my history on here. So I understand hormones and we get to, through my knowledge and by extension, our knowledge, we get to choose the providers that we work with that we know are going to understand how to do this. And so we vetted our providers and we choose the providers that are going to do this right. And so our providers are really good at this too. So just so, I mean, you really just can't pay, as we were talking about, like if you went to medical school, you learned a certain thing, you learned antiquated notions and dogma from decades ago about hormones. So you can't just pick any provider because they're going to have the old school way of thinking.
Right.
You have to get providers who have studied on their own and have an understanding or not, then understand how beneficial hormones are and not afraid to use them in the right context, right? So that's what we've done. We've picked our providers and we have a great set of providers here. 24/7. Yeah. So I built this model just because I knew we could do this better than anybody else, not only with the knowledge and understanding of how to use hormones, but customer service is important. Like if you go to some of our competitors, you see it all the time on like Reddit and social media. They'll say, I had a problem. I called or I emailed. Somebody said I didn't get an appointment to talk to somebody until 2 weeks later, and then I only talked to them for 5 minutes, and then that was it. We have a scaled system to deal with customer service. You have to be reached out to within 24 hours, or somebody's getting in trouble. Or, but usually people will reach out to you right away, like within the hour, if not even within minutes. So we have a system where people really will deal with you and they'll get really deep and get on the phone with you or whatever you need for customer service. So we have really unmatched customer service.
Oh, well, here you go, Ryan. I know we already answered this, but Ruben was asking that because he missed it, have the genetic tests been sent out?
Yeah, I apologize, Ruben. So we did have some in the beginning here. We are working on some quirks or some. We're working through a few issues. So I apologize. Everything did get approved to be shipped today, so it should be shipped hopefully tomorrow. And then you should receive it pretty soon. So I apologize thank you for bearing with us and thank you for the patience. It was one of those things we thought we were ready. And then when it came down to it, oh my gosh, we have to do this and this thing needs to be done. But it should be ready to go tomorrow.
Excellent. Okay. moving along here, we're going to be wrapping this up soon, everybody out there, and we're going to get into the conclusion here. Final thoughts from Nikki. And what's the most critical first step for listeners to improve their health today?
The most critical step, that's such a good question. I think just don't allow whatever you're struggling with to be dismissed, right? I think that I get that a lot. There's a lot of frustration because labs are fine or whatever. You've got to, I think it's learning to listen to your body, know that it's telling you something, and find people who are going to help you to manage it, whether even if it's just optimizing, right? Which is where the genetic stuff comes in. It's really cool, but it's knowing your body. It's eating basic, well-grown food, and I mean that animals too, right? They're well-grown, not your conventional unhealthy animals, but it really should be pretty basic and pretty simple. We've made it where it's not, but it should be. So that's what I got.
Now, how would you summarize, Nikki, after everything that has been talked about tonight, the value of merging hormone optimization with a functional and nutritional approach?
Oh, well, I think it can be a game changer for a lot of people. It was for me. So yeah, no, I think that we have to understand each person as an individual. We've got to look at all of the different factors. This is all of the stuff that we talked about through this whole thing. So I don't want to be repetitive, but we can't assume the same thing for everyone. So hormones are game changers for a lot of people. But if hormones are out of balance, let's try to find out why, and then and go from there.
Very good. All right, and before we say goodnight to Nikki and let you know where she can be found, we're going to take this last question here that we've been holding on to all night from St. Owned. Will you be able to customize your panels, your add-ons? I believe he's talking about if he joined the clinic.
Yeah, I think he's talking about the blood test. So yeah, we're gonna have. So for instance, like Merrick right now, you can go on there and just pick if you want to just add one test on, like a whatever, some test. You can do that, and you will be able to do that with us too. Like we'll have a plethora of all the tests available, and you'll be able to just add something. And we're also going to have little bundles of tests that make sense for a lot of the things that we're talking about, and we're going to make them affordable. That's the important part too. Like all these tests at affordable prices. So people will be able to really come on and really understand their genetics and understand their predispositions so that we can plan protocols based on your unique situation.
Perfect. All right, guys, this was an awesome stream. I want to thank you, Nikki, for taking the time to come out onto the show tonight and share all this information with our audience and with me as well. I learned a lot. This was fantastic. Nikki is with Taste of Life Nutrition. She's on Spotify. She's got a website. She has Instagram. All of these links will be in the description box, as well as I will put them in the comment section and have them pinned for you. So please go check her out, sub up. And now, Nikki, don't you also have on Spotify you podcast, correct? A radio podcast?
Yeah. So we stream live as a radio show. So we're internet radio. And then we are the podcast. We upload it to the podcast site. So it's a little bit unique, but it's both. Yeah.
And it's really
Taste of Life, not Taste of Life. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. I hear you have this really interesting guest coming on. This really interesting hormone optimization named Ryan. He'll come on your show in April.
I'm super excited about that one. That's going to be an awesome show. So everybody watch out for that one. Do you remember the date? Which April what?
April something. Yeah, I can't remember exactly. It's in April.
My calendar pulled up. So, but we'll do lots of promoting before the show. So we want everybody to watch it live. So it's every Thursday, 10 a.m. where it streams live. And so you'll be live and then we upload it. So it's always great to watch live.
Awesome. And guys, I'd just like to share with you what's coming up for the next couple of weeks. I was wrong about Damian Nowak coming on next week. He's actually coming on the 3rd of February. So on 127, which is next week, we have Bill Simpson coming on. He's coming on to talk about HRT and relationships. Then the following week, we have Damian Nowak coming on. He's going to talk about the immunoassay versus the LCMS labs, oxandrolone, SHBG. Then we have Dr. Tramontano coming on for 210-26. He's going to be bringing up psychology and hormones. So we got a great guest list coming up, lineup coming up for the next few weeks. And yeah, that's about it. I mean, I'm going to pass it off to you, Nikki and Ryan, to say goodnight to everybody, and then we will call it a night.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Nikki. This has been really great. This is something that I've always kind of held near and dear, because I think like a lot of this, like I said before, is kind of the missing puzzle piece to really optimize people. We really need to optimize this part too. So thanks for everything. Thanks for coming on, and thanks to everybody for coming on. And it was great chatting with everybody. Talking with everybody is what makes this show. So we appreciate it.
Yeah, it was super fun. I'm grateful that you had me on. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah,
a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Where's Brandon? Yeah, he's likely going to be back on in the coming weeks. Everybody is super, super busy. And when we have a guest that's on that has a ton of information and it's not really a Q&A type podcast, we give Brandon the night off. And if he does come on, it's going to likely be on a week that we don't have somebody scheduled, or he may even be on with Dr. Tramontano. I haven't talked with Brandon about that, but rest assured we will be in touch. So thanks, guys, for coming out. We'll see you next week on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Pacific. Till then, you have a great week, a wonderful weekend, and you have a great night. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.